Modern relationships are like a Game of Thrones. If we look at relationships closely, they are all about power struggles. It's like a Game of Thrones, to be honest. Women tend to use the notions of love to keep men in their control. Having kids with these women allows them to use men's resources more openly and to their advantage. And women are very shady when it comes to their resources. I have yet to meet a woman who is generous with what she earns or has inherited. And yet, they expect men to work hard all their lives and just hand over the money to these women. Men are now realizing this and not giving in to this manipulation as much as they used to in the past. Men have had enough of the tests and the games and have been burnt far too often to know what women truly want. Yet, there are men who are still far from this, which is why women still continue doing this even today. Simps who don't have strong willpower are easily seduced because women find out their weaknesses and exploit them. A woman who's really great in bed will always be a weakness for weak men. If you're on dating sites, I'm sure you will encounter a lot of women who are now single but have had children with their previous partners. They position themselves as cool and ultra-chic women, but forget to mention they are looking for a man who can now take care of them and their children for the rest of their lives. They make these stunning profiles with hot pictures of them, trying to seduce guys. And there are thousands of thirsty guys who do fall for them. But they regret it after a while, because these women then start persuading them to get into long-term serious relationships, and even marriage. So, how does one navigate the world of social media and single women who are also mothers, looking for a financially stable guy to care for them? And I'm not saying all of these women have ulterior motives. Some of them are genuinely lovely women, who genuinely are relationship material, and don't let the financial and emotional baggage of coming with children get attached to the guy. But many of them think in the opposite direction, and just want a financial partner more than anything else. I think the best way to handle this is to be really upfront with these women and tell them how you feel about them, also being mothers. Like how the guys in the clip you just watched at the beginning of this video did. If it doesn't work for you, you need to tell them and not waste both of your time. If you genuinely like someone who is a mother as well, you need to tell her that you're serious about her and understand that she has children, which is not going to be a problem. However, most men don't do this, and out of love, kindness, morality, or even just ignorance, they end up in serious commitments with such women, and later on realize how they'd been pushed into something that the woman had planned all along. Most importantly, they can't even talk about it because they get criticized by society for leaving a good woman alone and not helping her through her life. Urban populations have been steadily increasing as a result of female freedom and empowerment. Women often travel with their children from earlier marriages as they begin to leave rural areas for the cities in an effort to become independent. Men in rural areas put a lot of effort into their farms and ranches, so they don't have time to play mind games with or constantly be controlled by women. Women tend to move to the cities so that they can live and work independently, chasing the feminist narrative of being strong, successful, and independent women. Back in the day, men moved from rural areas to the cities to work in factories and earn a living they couldn't find in rural areas. In those days, women also moved to urban areas so they could find work, and men worked in factories that allowed them to live a better life than they would in rural areas. Today, things have changed. Today, people are moving from crowded cities and settling down in rural or isolated areas where they can afford better housing and live in more space. After the pandemic, especially when working remotely became a normal thing to do, many have already moved back to rural areas with basic internet connections and the availability of electricity in order to live more peaceful lives. They've done this to reduce their costs of living, such as utilities and transport, and to be safe from viral pandemics such as COVID-19, which are far more likely to have outbreaks in crowded cities. So now, it is easier for mothers from rural areas to target men who have moved to rural areas for a more peaceful living. This is where men will need to stay vigilant and not be manipulated into marriage with these women, because they will come on strong and push for marriage and the adoption of their children. Men need to realize that the hour of pleasure they have in the bedroom is not unconditional. The woman you're dating or are supposed to marry is only doing that so she can get your resources in the long term to finance her life and fuel her material and societal wants. She's using you for the social value of being married to someone stable, to make a network of friends or potential future suitable partners in case this goes wrong, and to have access to funds that allow her decent food, designer handbags, classy vehicles, and the latest technology gadgets. Also, Men in rural areas might be strong physically, but they are not as intellectually refined as men in the cities. This is just my assumption, guys. This is probably why rural men fall for rural women all the time in their early years and get into marriage and have kids, only to go for a divorce when they later find out the manipulative side of women. Emotional manipulation of men is rampant in today's society. Men in cities who move to rural areas know better, and that is why women go for such guys in the first place, because they know if they manipulate them once, then they're probably intellectually superior to those men and can be pushed towards marriage and a stable life with someone earning from a city job. For such men, what starts as a simple move to the rural areas in search of some peace and quiet turns into a marriage that swiftly becomes a case of adoption, and of them having to share their resources with a mother, and eventually divorce and alimony. Single women above 30 are known to act like wolves. Women are known to live and thrive in packs. So even if rural women who move to the city get into a relationship with men, they eventually try to persuade them to move back to their rural areas so that the women can be closer to their circle and community of women. That makes it easier for the women to manipulate and control their men when they have their tribe of women who have children with their previous husbands around them to constantly tell them what to do next. They can then also be closer to their own families, where they can use their influence in the area through their brothers and fathers. Women from the country and rural areas are somehow easier to get along with. They don't have the tendency to be shrewd as most city women do, and so women need to have better influences when they're in their teens so that they can be inspired by women who are great women with feminine qualities. All of us would rather have our loved ones, especially young women, stay away from platforms such as OV and adult sites where women can go and show and sell their bodies to the rest of the world for easy money. But that's not something that's going to help them when they decide to have children and get into serious relationships. The consequences of living that sort of life are going to haunt them forever. Please, men, trust me when I say this. Stop using dating apps. It creates delusional women and lowers your self-esteem. Work on yourself. Things won't get better until men stop simping. There are only 3 types of women on dating apps when you break it down. Women who don't have the options they want in real life. These are your older women and the ugly ones. The second is the pros looking to sell, and the third category is the college girls just seeing what guys can provide the experience they want. Now, I've always been under the mentality that once you understand what dating apps are, you can use them to your advantage. It also highly depends on where you live. If you aren't in a major city, I don't think it's worth it. These girls on there aren't looking for good men, they just want some memorable stories they can share on their next girl trip. Men, you must learn to rewire your slave mind. If you believe that your self-worth is only based on your dating market value, then you are basing your self-worth on external factors, things beyond your control, and basically basing it on feelings of strange women you've never met. Your self-worth comes inherently. By being born on this earth, you have inherent worth and value, and you should have self-respect for yourself. And your self-worth comes from the value you provide to society, which means your business or your job. Thanks for watching Man Reacts. Show us your love and support by liking this video, sharing it with your friends, and subscribing to the channel. Support us and help us spread support for men around the world. Do comment and share your thoughts. We're always up for a healthy debate and discussion.